Okay, the awards season is here, and we're now close enough to the awards that I'll go ahead and do a prediction video on all of them. And it's going to be interesting to see how some of these pan out because we've been having the debates on these for months. First up, Vezina. Connor Hellebuck in Winnipeg had an excellent year. Pekka Rinne in Nashville had an excellent year. Vasilevsky in Tampa had an excellent year. My bet is Pekka Rinne. Rinne, from basically wire to wire, was the best goaltender in the league, I think, during the regular season. And, at age 35, he hasn't had one before. I think he probably gets that vote. Hellebuck's 24, Vasilevsky's 23. They're going to get other shots at Vezina trophies, and this is kind of where trophy voting is interesting in the NHL. When you're a veteran player, it's kind of easier to win that award than it is for the young kid, and I think that's part of what factors into it, and the fact that Rinne was just the best goaltender in the regular season. Selkie Trophy, and this is where it gets odd for me as a Bruins fan. Bergeron's in here. I don't think he should be. I think there's a couple of guys who should have squeezed him out, but they're nominated down here, so we'll get into them in a minute. It's between Bergeron, Couturier, and Kopitar, and between the three, I would hope that it goes to Couturier of the Flyers. Couturier had an excellent year, and he has finally been recognized as a great defensive forward because he scored 30 goals. I find that really weird. He was a great defensive forward before he scored 30 goals, but whatever. And that's how I hope, and yet I would not be surprised to see Bergeron win it again. I'm going to straight up say I would not be surprised to see Bergeron win it again because A, he is an excellent defensive forward, and B, people tend to vote for the same people year after year. This is what I've started to notice. And now that the votes are allowed to become public, so when the people who are voting on these awards make their votes public, hopefully we start to notice some guys that are just voting for the same people every year. Because I do think that's an issue in the NHL. Not just with Bergeron. I've seen it over the years where guys will win trophies, and I think, well, yeah, he was good this year. He's really good this year. But for the Norris, I probably would have seen as a better option. For the Vezina, would have been a better option. So that does happen. Speaking of Norris, here we are. Drew Doughty, Victor Hedman, PK Subban. Drew Doughty could very well get this, and yet I'll go with Hedman because I think Hedman's the best defenseman in the NHL this season. Erik Karlsson could charge back next year. If Karlsson gets traded to a team where he's really happy, Karlsson wins this next year. Because I think when Erik Karlsson is bound and determined, I think Karlsson could have the kind of year that Ovechkin had this year for the Capitals. Absolutely. But for this year's regular season, Victor Hedman, best defenseman in the league. I could see PK Subban or Drew Doughty. I think this one's going to be a close vote, but I think it should be Hedman's. Lady Byng. This is where it's a consolation prize. And I remember Don Cherry mentioning it. I think it was Yzerman that won it that one year, and he said, we give this trophy to the guy who should have the Hart, but we know he's not going to win it, so we give him the Lady Byng so he doesn't walk away empty-handed. This year, it's two guys who should have been in the Selkie Trophy vote that get in here. Alexander Barkov, William Karlsson, and Ryan O'Reilly. Barkov and Karlsson really should be in the Selkie conversation ahead of, I would say, Bergeron, because Bergeron missed those 20-plus games. And honestly, Karlsson had a fantastic year offensively and defensively, and Barkov is just such a beast out there. I was really surprised when he wasn't nominated for Selkie. And Ryan O'Reilly does a little bit of everything. And so to me, this trophy isn't so much about who the nicest guy in the league is, which is kind of what it should be, shouldn't it? Sportsmanship. That being said, I think that it'll go, and I'm going with the guy in the middle again. These are all listed alphabetically, so I'm saying that the guy in the middle alphabetically is going to win every trophy so far. I'm going with Karlsson because I can't see Karlsson not winning it. For his 43 goals, not good enough for Richard. For his excellent plus-minus, I believe he's a plus 49 this year. Didn't get in the Selkie Trophy conversation. I say he takes home Lady Byng. Masterton Trophy. This is the trophy given to the guy who gets injured. 9 times out of 10, it's a guy who misses a lot of time injured. It's for dedication to hockey. So for dedication to hockey, Brian Boyle, who of course had the cancer diagnosis he fought through this year. Luongo, who fought through injuries and gave that inspirational speech before a Florida home game. And Jordan Staal of Carolina, who's just been an excellent third-line center and ambassador of the game for a very long time. I honestly can't see a situation where Brian Boyle doesn't win this. There were numerous times people would say, "Oh, who do you think's going to get nominated for the Masterton?" Or talk about all the nominees for the Masterton. Every team's nomination for Masterton. It's Boyle's award. I can't see him not getting it. He was in one of those inspirational stories in a year where we had a bunch of them. A lot of inspirational stories this year. So I can't see Boyle not winning it. Calder, I am still shocked Brock Besser's in here. Again, Besser misses a lot of time with injury. I thought he'd drop out of the top 3. I thought Kyle Connor would get in here. He's in there with Matthew Barzal and Clayton Keller. I'm surprised Keller's in there ahead of Kyle Connor as well. But, this year's rookie crop was really kind of excellent. Another one that could have been in here was Charlie McAvoy of the Bruins. Calder, I don't see a situation where Matthew Barzal does not bring this one home. I don't. I don't see any chance for Keller or Besser ahead of Barzal. I don't see how that would work. The Messier Award for Leadership. I'm going to go ahead and guess that Vancouver fans had no vote in Messier being named the Leadership Award. But with his 6 Stanley Cups and the fact he was captain for some of those cups, yeah, he was a pretty excellent leader during his time, just not in Vancouver. Derek England for Vegas. And England, very, very interesting story in that, he already lived in Vegas before the team came in. And he's been an emotional and inspirational leader on and off the ice for Vegas. Wayne Simmons of Philly is a very interesting candidate here. As is Blake Wheeler. And this one's really hard because these ones, how do you measure leadership? And the interesting part being Wheeler's a captain. I'm pretty sure Giroux's the captain in Philly, and they don't have a captain in Vegas. But I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm just gonna say I'll go with Wayne Simmons as the leadership award winner. And this really could go to any of the 3. So if I'm wrong on this one, I won't be surprised. The Adams Award for Coach of the Year. Jared Bednar in Colorado would have won this going away any other year. Bruce Cassidy in Boston has an excellent chance most years. But Gerard Gallant in Vegas, if they don't give it to him, there's something wrong with the situation. Gerard Gallant is a huge part of the reason why Vegas won as many games as they did this year. Is a huge part of the reason why we see so many different Vegas names up here. His coaching makes the GM look good. That's the truth. If you have a coach behind the bench that doesn't know how to get the most out of what he's got on the ice, Vegas may not even make the playoffs this year and may have struggled at points that they didn't because Gerard Gallant is an excellent coach. I can't see him not walking away with Coach of the Year. The Ted Lindsay Award. Here's where things are interesting. You've got Lindsay and the Hart. I might as well discuss both. For the Lindsay, you've got Hall, McKinnon, and McDavid. For the Hart, you've got Hall, Kopitar, and McKinnon. The Hart is for the MVP, the player who brought their team to the success they acquired. The Lindsay's for just the best player in the league. And those things, to me, are different. They're completely different. The best player in the league versus your league's MVP. And I know to some people it should be the same thing, and I get their argument, and I'm tired of having it. The Lindsay Award for best player in the league, voted on by the NHLPA, should go to Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid is the first, and I'm hoping I'm right on this, the first player to win back-to-back Art Ross trophies since Yager finished it in 2001. I think Yager had like 4 in a row. McDavid absolutely is the odds-on winner of next year's Art Ross trophy, and we haven't even got into that yet. I can't see McDavid not winning another Art Ross. So when you've got a guy winning Art Ross after Art Ross, They are the best player in the league. But are they the most valuable player to their team's success? No. To me, if you're going to go, Kopitar being in here, I don't have a problem with Kopitar being in here. And I guess after the sweep in the first round, it might be easy to forget. LA had a very solid season. But they did. Now, between McKinnon and Hall, honestly, I'm leaning towards McKinnon, but this is going to be so close. And I'm leaning towards McKinnon because of the two, Colorado had the farthest to go. Colorado was the worst team in the league last year, and it wasn't even close. And McKinnon, honestly, is why they were respectable and made the playoffs. So I can't see McKinnon walking away without some hardware. Kane Clancy Award. So this is another one of those leadership in the community things. The Sedin twins are nominated together for this one. PK Subban, Jason Zucker for Minnesota. Subban is an excellent, excellent man off the ice. And I know there's a lot of people who don't like his play on the ice, and I get it. But honestly, off the ice, he's fantastic. I would not be surprised to see the Sedin twins win it, as they've left the league, and the league may, or the voters may have looked at this and said, you know what, we'll give them this trophy as a thank you for all that they've done in the world of hockey and in their community as well. That being said, Subban has been so out there and so public, and his contributions in any community he's played in cannot be overstated. So I think it's between the Sedins and Subban. I could go either way. And then, of course, because it's an unpredictable trophy, if Jason Zucker walks away with it, it'll be like, all right. GM of the Year is interesting. This is voted on after the second round. Winnipeg, Vegas, and Tampa. The three teams out of the Final Four that didn't win the Stanley Cup. It's very, very interesting that the GMs of those three teams are up there, and the GM of the Capitals, nowhere to be found. Cheveldayoff in Winnipeg, McPhee in Vegas, Yzerman in Tampa. I don't see any way that McPhee does not win that award. And when he does, I think he'll share some of the reward with Gallant, because Gallant made McPhee look really smart. And McPhee made sure he gave a good team to Gallant that perfectly suited his coaching style. So these two should hang out after and talk about how they cleaned house with the Coach and GM of the Year awards. And it should be a big night for Vegas, because honestly, they were quite the surprise. Now, of course, the awards that don't get voted on, the Rocket Richard Trophy goes to Alex Ovechkin, because of course it does. It's another award for a guy who is absolutely first ballot Hall of Famer and now has every championship he's ever wanted except Olympic gold. It's the only one he doesn't have. So when people talk about his commitment to the NHL and his longevity in the NHL, I agree that now with a Stanley Cup, it makes that easier to keep him around. And yet he may look and say, I've never got a gold medal the Olympics. I'd love to get that. And if the NHL says we're not going back to the Olympics, will he eventually make that decision to go home and play so that he has a chance to play in the Olympics and get a gold medal? That's the only question I have when it comes to Ovechkin. Art Ross, Connor McDavid, as I stated earlier. McDavid far and away should be leading this race by 15 points a year. Because when he gets on a hot streak, there's nobody that can compete with him in the NHL currently. And, Stanley Cup went to the Capitals, and I just wrote underneath, yep, the Capitals. Because I don't think very many people, there are a few, I admit, at the start of the playoffs said, I think the Capitals are going to win it. But those were just really Capitals hardcore fans. So congratulations to them. And what's interesting on this board is there's no Capitals up for individual awards. None. Zero. There's no Penguins either. And I'm trying to think of the last time I saw an awards where there were no Penguins up for awards. That is a very unusual thing to see. But we're there. And again, you could say, well, who would you nominate? I agree. It's just, it feels weird to me to see so many players and so many logos up here for teams like New Jersey and Colorado, and here's in Arizona. And yeah, there's no Washington up for a nomination, and there's no Penguins either. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And let me know your picks in the comment section below. I'll talk to you again soon.